It's time for the chaos to cease.
Time to open yourself to peace.
From the hours you've put in.
To the next shift you begin.
From the endless pursuit of release.
That finds the worst unleashed.
Transform the ugly into a win.
Get to know your shield within.
Here we are. We're back. Welcome back to The Shield Within. This is episode 9, the second show of a two-part series featuring one of my favorite people in the world, Jerry Knapke. Say hello.
Hello.
He's there.
Hello. Good to be here.
We're here as usual.
I said.
Yeah. We're here as usual with my esteemed colleague, Dr. David Buchanan.
Good evening.
So last episode, if you're binge listening, and we hope you are, we wouldn't need to do a little bit of business up front. So if you are on social media, check us out on Facebook, which is Facebook / The Shield Within. So if you like stuff, I put memes up there every day, something inspirational. Our episodes get posted on there as they're new. So like us and share us. And also, we can be found on all major platforms. And if you find us on Apple or Spotify or Audible, iHeartRadio, please drop us a rating and leave us a comment. That's what helps get our name out there. And if you like the show, please like and recommend or share it. That's what we're here about. So if you're finding yourself in need and you just want to get more of Dr. David's sexy voice, you can reach out to him. His business is www.lessonslearnedcoaching.com. Or you can go to our website, which is www.theshieldwithin.com, and just punch the coaching button, and it'll get you straight to Dr. David.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we're glad you're here, Jerry.
Yeah.
Yes. As I said, it's good to be here with two good men
Oh, yeah.
on a very worthwhile topic. A very worthwhile topic.
Oh, yeah.
Very glad you're here, sir. Very glad. I thought it might be useful. Marc has done such a wonderful job over our first 7 episodes of describing his experiences as a policeman in very specific situations that were traumatizing, and the experiences he went through contacting me, contacting you, getting into therapy, focusing on traumatic experiences using EMDR to resolve that stuff. And I think he's done a really good job of laying it all out and of pretty much every part of it, how it affects your body, how it affects your relationships with other people, how it affects your way you look at yourself, your career, the way you look at your future. Everything in your life is affected by your trauma. And so we've had, I think, a pretty good idea of Marc's experiences, and I think Marc's done a great job of describing all the stages and aspects to it. I'm wondering, as you're doing EMDR, first of all, you got a first responder on your waiting list. You got an opening. You give her a call. You say, hey, I've got this opening in a couple of weeks. You still looking for? Yep, I'm still looking for somebody. So you give her an initial appointment. She comes in, and you're able to give her a standing appointment within a fairly short period of time. And after a few months, you know you're going to get into the trauma work eventually. But you see her name on your waiting list. You're getting ready to call her. Do you talk to a first responder differently in that first phone call? Do you construct the first session with a first responder differently than you would another trauma person? A person who's been through a fire, for example.
I hate to confess, but I don't.
Good.
But certainly,
it's good,
it
right?
depends on how recent the trauma is, David. Certainly. It depends on how recent the trauma is. Because if it's within a month or so, yes, that is that's why so it's always the presenting issue. Why today? Why'd you come in this week instead of in the past? That's always for any intake.
Yeah.
But somebody who has just in general wants to work with their trauma I do the same with every client. I spend one session getting to know them. I spend 2 sessions doing an intake, getting their psychological history, and then the treatment plan. What is it that you want to make different about your life? What's eating at you? First off, I ask them, what's going well in your life? I always start off and say, what do you like about your life? What's going well? So in answer to your question, no, if it's not real recent, I don't treat it any differently. And as you're suggesting from your experiences, it's going to come up.
It's going to come up eventually.
So let it come up kind of naturally.
Yeah.
And also, part of my intake is always I have them give me their trauma history. Since you've been an infant, what things have happened to you that were more than you could handle, things that really upset you? So that sort of confines their trauma history. It's like, what was done to you that you hated, that you couldn't get away from? Or what did you really need as a child?
Yeah.
And it wasn't available. You couldn't get it, and it hurt you deeply. So it's either what was done to you or
Right.
what you didn't get.
Right.
So that's
very good. That's very similar to me. I did not, when I saw that a first responder was on my waiting list and I called him, it was time for us to get to work, it didn't make me think any differently about the work we were going to do. It didn't make me talk any differently in the initial phone call. It was just, let's start it and see what happens and go from there. I've read some stuff from other trauma therapists who feel like there's like an extra responsibility when you're treating someone who's carrying a gun, someone who's got all these responsibilities in the community. It's really, it's a heavier burden to see that person.
Seriously? You have other therapists that think that way?
Yes.
red flag.
Yeah.
Red flag.
Well, but my question is, now that just fucking blew me away. I'm like, fucking seriously? I mean, we are human beings.
Yeah.
We chose to do this profession. Yeah, I carry a fucking gun. You know why I carry it? To protect me and to protect you. You know, because the only way to overcome a bad guy with a gun is to be a good guy with a gun. But just because I wear that fucking boat anchor on my hip doesn't mean that I'm some psycho.
I think you should be called safety officers, not police officers.
Well, you know,
that's a wimpy thing to say,
well, and I don't have a problem with that, you know, because everybody was talking about.
You are here to keep the peace.
Yeah, we're peace
You're
officers.
To keep the peace. You're peace officers, but
80 Go ahead. I'm sorry. 80%
Yeah.
of what we do is dialogue,
Right.
you know, and we get into some fucked up shit. You know, you're adults. I'm not talking about you two, but you know, I show up on the scene. You get two adults, can't carry on or just can't get along. It's like, okay, motherfucker, you called me here. You may not like what I want or what I'm deciding. You called me to come unfuck your problem.
Right.
So you may not like the solution. But I guess my question to both of you is that on your calendars, if you know this person's, do you recommend you say, hey, I'm a police officer, I'm with whatever city or county, and I just want to come in and talk. Will that prioritize them on your list for either one of you, or firefighter or EMT? Jerry, go first.
I would take extra note of that, given the times we live in. I would take extra note of it. So, yeah, I would tend to pay a little more attention to that.
Yeah.
And get them on your calendar, or at least reach out to them and get an initial consultation, see what's going on. Hey, hey, Mark, Jerry here. You know, you called me a day or so ago. Didn't mean to put you off, but you know what's going on. You know, we're going to try and get you on the calendar sooner.
Right.
Right.
David, same thing.
Assess in that initial phone call, assess as clearly as you can what the level of need is. And if somebody's really in a crisis situation, suicidal, really ready to lose it with mom, dad, spouse, children, whatever, then that person's I'm going to make sure I get that person to someone. If it's not me, if I've got no one the next day I can bump to get that person in,
right,
I will call somebody and make sure I find somebody for that person to go see.
Okay.
You can't do it all the time, though. I mean, part of what I end up doing, I'm guessing Jerry does some of this too, is, okay, look, here's what I can give you. Is a week from Thursday at 9 o'clock in the morning. I know that's not convenient, so you have like the next 10 days to figure out how to make that appointment. But in the next 10 days, here's 10 things I'd like you to consider trying to get you through those days. Think about how you sleep and then work up a couple sleep strategies. Think about your appetite, work up a couple appetite, nutritional things, physical energy, spiritual stuff, mental things. I'll shotgun it, man. I'll throw 20 things at you to get you through the next 10 days, because then the work will start. But you have to keep yourself together,
right,
to get to the first appointment. And so when I've got a first responder, much like Jerry's saying, if the voice on the other end of the phone is, and this could happen with a car accident, but the voice I'm thinking of in my mind is a woman who had just been rear-ended, like a couple of hours before. She was sitting in the emergency room and knew she was fucked up. and she called me.
Physically fucked up or mentally?
Mentally fucked up. I am sitting here sweating. I'm close to a panic attack.
Oh, okay.
And I know what happened to me is going to mess me up for a while.
Okay.
So it was somebody I didn't know. So I said, okay, you're going to need somebody to see you fairly quickly. It cannot be me. I'm happy that the lady who your friend gave me my name to you, but I think I know somebody I think you can see tomorrow morning. That's going to get you through to the point where you and I can see each other. So I had somebody at the mental health center, and I said, you're still doing crisis work? Yeah. Okay, I got a crisis for you. It's going to come in tomorrow at 9 o'clock, and they're going to have a first appointment with me in a couple of weeks, but you need to make sure that they're still alive in a couple of weeks. That initial phone call, assessing the threat to something severe happening, somebody's psychotic, somebody's homicidal, whatever, if that comes through in that initial call, then other resources have to be tapped if I can't get them in.
No, yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like, crisis is kind of like going to the emergency room, though, right?
It's, man.
I mean, for the emergency room of mental health.
Right.
Most crisis centers are at an emergency room.
Yes.
I forgot to clarify that.
Right.
But, and, like most first responders are like, we ain't fucking going there.
Right.
I just assume eat a pile of shit that goes to that fucking place. No way am I walking in there.
Anything that you found you just make sure you never do with a first responder?
Nothing. Just think about nothing that comes to mind. Each one is so specific. Certainly, there's things. Each situation is so unique.
Yeah.
Sort of where the sensitive points are, or whatever. So I can't think of a thing overall that I would never do. It depends on the person I'm with. You get a feel. Again, you get a feel for where they're coming from.
Right.
And as you know, you get a feel for how ready they are. Or how raw is their trauma? You don't mess with raw trauma. You don't mess with raw trauma. You're asking for their ego to get overwhelmed. It's like telling a group of firefighters the fire is way too hot, and you're telling them, go there, go there, put it out. And a smart, and that's just not why. So there's certain things you just don't do with each individual client. There's certain things you do. It depends. I would say a lot of it is how raw is the traumatic wound, whatever triggered them. And most times, David, that's not the original wound. The primal wound is way back somewhere else.
So so this is a question for both of you. So when in your experience as a therapist, when you have a first responder come in, and we'll just stay in the world of the blue, which is the police officers, when you finally get a cop in there and they're a shit show, and you are finding that, okay, so this one little maybe seemingly insignificant incident, this is the thing that flipped their apple cart over, but really what we're here for is because the fucking brick wall just fell.
Yes.
So when the client comes in, and we'll just use me for example, I walked in David's door. When I walked in your door, I was in a different state. I was in a better spot of healing. But when I walked into your door, my brick wall just fell. And, I had my first suicide attempt, and, my marriage, we were separated yet again. Well, this is one of the earlier ones, but, the life was just coming off the fucking rails for me. And I didn't understand how I got here. Why am I here?
And that's why David didn't do EMDR for 15 months. Because there has to be ego.
Keep going. Tell me.
No, because our sense of self, your sense of self, was not together, and your sense of integration, your sense of feeling connected to yourself and to other people. So David spent that time building resources, helping you, I think, become a stronger sense of self. And basically, as you use the term resources, if we're going to go to the big one, we can't go empty-handed. If the general's going to go in the battle, he better arm his troops and have a reinforcement line built, supply line. So that's why, Mark. So you were not, David knew that you did not have the ego strength, is the easiest way to say it,
right.
to delve right into the trauma. And I tell people the good news is this trauma has come up in your life because your psyche, your psychological immune system, senses it's always wanted to be resolved.
Right.
But you know what? The good news is you have now developed enough sense of self, enough ego strength that it trusts you to take on this old wound and release it, finish it. Can you relate to that?
Yes,
But
very
you can
much.
comment as far as Mark,
Okay. Well, and that's just where I want
That's
people
my
to get
response.
someone that's listening to this show that hasn't been in therapy. They know their life it's not what they want it to be. I'm not going to say a shit show, but we'll just say it's a shit show. If they think that they're going to go, I'm going to go see Dr. David, and we should have this shit cleared up about four sessions. Exactly. And that's what I tell people. They're like, oh, you go to therapy? Yeah. How often do you go? I said, sometimes once a week. Really? Yeah. Well, is that all the time? I mean, how much is this? This is so expensive. And I said, well, put it to you this way. I basically, I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional, but not going, the end result is I'm going to hang myself out there on that pergola. So what's expensive?
right?
This is, and the problem with me is, and we talked about this on the It List last night. I did a show last night with them, itlistpodcast.com if you're listening, or Facebook, the It List. Anyway, go out and give us a like if you like comedy. But we got into a dark mode on our Patreon episode, and one of my partners on the show, they were talking about suicide. And then one guy had really strong feelings about it. He's like, oh, that's just the most selfish fucking thing anybody can ever do. And those fucking people, blah, 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 blah. And he had no idea that I have been very suicidal in the past. And both of you gave me resources to keep me alive. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, both of you.
An understanding of it, yeah.
Well, absolutely. So then and then my co-host, Joel, turns to me and he says, I think I know your answer. Because, that person, Timmy Ruxman, and then we had Beer League Kyle, and both of them were like, oh, hell no, we never do that. So Joel's like, what about you? And I said, absolutely. And, our Patreon episodes are generally, we go from talking about, fucking and whatever else, because, my episodes are pretty raw. But now suddenly we're talking about Mark the cop wanting to kill himself, and I'm telling them, I said, look, man, I don't want to do this. But I told Tim, I said, the problem is when you're in that level of pain to where that sounds like a viable solution, red lights and bells should be going off. You need to get your ass into fucking therapy. Keep yourself alive. Don't select a permanent solution to a temporary problem, because everything in life is temporary. And you may not like where life is going, but again, that again is temporary. Your life changes every 10 years. Sometimes better, sometimes worse, but God isn't going to give you anything, or your higher power, whoever your higher power is, that you can't handle. So keep yourself alive, get into therapy, go in and be prepared to do the work. And that was one thing that Jerry said. He says, Mark, the great thing about working with you is that you do the work. You want to do the work, because I don't like feeling this. And
you're consistent. You follow up.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Jerry gave me some homework the last time we were here. Or he not here. The last time I was in his office.
Many people who haven't even shared, many people in their lifetimes are suicidal at one point or another. And they don't really want to die. They want to stop suffering. Life hurts too much. It's too scary. So I certainly can relate to being suicidal at times in my life. I forgot where I was going to go with that.
That's all right. My problem is that, through in
Oh no, I was going to go with this. I'm sorry, Mark. I was going to go with statistics. Right. Is if you Google suicides in the United States, in 2020, 2021, about 49,000 people murdered themselves. You know how many homicides there were? Homicides is, killing someone else, 16 to 18,000. Over 3 times more of us murder ourselves than murder someone else. And that's not to mention all the self-destructive cutting and terrible things, the binging, all the terrible things we do, short of killing ourselves. But Mark, if I have a heart angina or heart issue, I go to the emergency room and take off work and get it done.
Right.
People need to do inpatient when they're emotionally distraught. I'm not going to take off work and go to the hospital inpatient. That would be what if the neighbors found out? So anyway, mental health tends to be underestimated. But think about those stats. About 35,000 people a year are killed.
No,
on
it's
highways.
outrageous that high number.
Yeah.
Yes, 3 times more of we Americans murder ourselves. And in terms of psychology, there's nothing nothing healthier about hating another person. Hating yourself is just as unhealthy as hating another person. But somehow we think it's okay to be down on ourselves. But
No,
psychologically,
I'm
it isn't.
terrible about that for the fucked up shit I've done to other people and get that self-loathing. David had brought up in a couple of episode 5, I think we were talking about. Okay. You had mentioned, and it could have been 6 too, but it doesn't matter, about how young first responders, and I teach at the Basic Police Academy, and I share this with my classes that, hey, earlier you get in and start seeing a therapist or a psychiatrist, the better off you're going to be, and you're going to weather this storm that you are unwittingly walking into. I kind of liken it to walking into a set of helicopter rotor blades. You're kind of blind to the fact of how dangerous it is walking into this fucking thing while it's running. Yeah. But, eventually one of these things are going to hit you. And what you need to do is establish a relationship, say, David's taking clients, say Jerry was taking clients, and you're just like, hey, man, I'm a first responder. I'm cool right now, but, can I call you when shit starts going fucking sideways, and can I get on your calendar? I understand you're not going to hold me a spot, but, I just need, or maybe schedule every 90 days.
Right.
I'm going to come in and see you January 5th. That
would be very proactive if they were willing to do that.
Yeah, I'm going to come in January 5th. I'm going to come back in again in, March? April 1st, April 5th, just stop in and you don't have to stay there for the whole hour. Maybe just going to do 30 minutes and say, hey, man, establish that rapport and get on someone's calendar and just, and I liken it to you take your car to Jiffy Lube and change the oil every 5,000 miles. This is just your mental health checkup, and you may not need you forever.
That's maintenance.
Yeah, sure. But then you have that double fatal motorcycle accident, and to this day, I don't drive through that fucking intersection unless I have to. Right. I avoid it at all costs. When I went up for my up for an evaluation with a doctor, I spoke about that, and they're like, "What?" I said, "No, this is shit that's ongoing today. I mean, these are things in my life that change.
But in time, you'll get over that. In time, you will.
Oh, absolutely. But my thing is that." Why re-traumatized? In a couple episodes ago, I was at church. I went to church on Saturday night because I was teaching. And going down through the communion line, I fucking smelled white diamonds. I don't remember taking communion. I remember getting to the top of the ramp. I'm like, I'm the fuck out of here because it fucked me up so bad. Oh, hell yeah, it did. Yeah. So I figured I was out in the parking lot, and I collected myself. I'm like, well, I got to go to Kroger's. So drive over to Kroger's, and I'll be, goddamn, there wasn't another fucking woman in there with fucking white diamonds on.
Do the listeners know what the white diamonds meant to you?
No, okay, great point. Bring that up. Louis Dietz's mother had white diamonds on when he blew his brains out in front of her. And, I had to deal with that trauma of that. And, when I smelled it, I was right back in that fucking living room. I was right there. I was smelling that. I was experiencing. I could feel the temperature in the room. And we've done the MDR on it.
But you still have more work to do there. And in time, I think more of that can be released.
Yeah,
the same with going through the intersection once that juice has been released. But it's difficult work.
Right.
Can't all be done at once.
That's exactly right.
Right. Sorry, I keep derailing the train here.
You're fine, bro.
David has a whole list of things here that I want to hear.
But I know we're not going to get to. That's just the way it works. I think much like you, Jerry, my experience with all folks who are trauma patients was that the thing that I don't do is I don't push on the trauma. I respect the trauma. And
respect the trauma.
I respect it. And it's like, it will, when it's time for it to emerge as the thing we're doing, it will happen. Between now and then, You build up resources, you take care, you build the relationship, you move the whole process forward. But you understand the trauma is just too strong an experience. It has to be respected. And so the thing that I think my rape survivors taught me this maybe first before I saw my first responder was I've been through some shit, and I'm probably going to be willing to deal with it, but you're going to have to do it on my terms and on my timing. If you ask me about it today, I'm not going to tell you a damn thing. I might never come back. But if you let me tell you on my terms when it's right for me, then we can get some shit done. And that's how it has been for all my first responders. They come in, much like you used the word, I love your term, raw trauma.
Raw.
If the material is really raw, we're going to package it. We're going to put something around it, some gauze so it doesn't bleed out. But that's not going to be the first thing we're going to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is so true. That is absolutely so true. You know, being a cop, and once you go in somewhere where you trust no one, and when you're going to go into the room and you hit the nail on the head with me. That was something else. And sorry, that occurred to me. David was like, "You come in the room, you can talk about anything." First 4 episodes, you can talk about shit. I was like, yeah, we're like a couple of dogs smelling one another's butts, trying to figure out one another out.
Good thing you have some humor here, Mark.
Wow, yeah, but you know, that's the purpose of the show. But you know, it, and I was the same way with you. You know, I never met you before. You were a referral from David. He said that you were an EMDR therapist, and that was the biggest thing. You know, so it was getting and get to know you. And when I went in, you're like, "Why are you here, Mark?" And I laid it all out to you. I said, "You know, this is continuing work. I'm a police officer, and you know, I don't want to fuck my life up." And quite honestly, I said, "You know, I don't want to, you know, get to the point where I'm cheating on my wife because this is my trigger." And you said, well, okay, right out there with it. So, you know, I don't know if you were taken aback, if you remember that.
No.
You know, I went in the office and I already had specific goals and kind of treatment maintenance, you know, getting to know you with. And, you know, our energy was really good. And so I walked in, I sat down in that office and I'm like, yeah, this feels good. Yeah, this will work. I can deal with this guy. You know, and thankfully.
That's how you approach it.
Well, yeah. But I tell you what, if the opposite would have happened, I would have come in, paid you for your time, said thank you very much, and you know, I'm going to have to find someone else. Yeah. And it is scary, and
that happens too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, I'm sure it does. Yeah. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that, and that's what I want people to know, especially you first responders out there. You know, it's like going
shop
to the gym.
Around.
Yeah,
I tell them shop around, and also interview your therapist. You know, what are you about? What are your values? You ask them about the religion or whatever. I want a good fit here, and any good therapist wants a good fit for them. This isn't child's play. This is your life, and we want you to have the right fit. And sometimes it's one thing if you don't get along with your medical doctor, you spend 15 minutes with her or him. You don't have to like him, but you gotta resonate with your therapist.
Oh God, what a great statement! What a great statement. Interview your therapist.
Know their values. Are they your kind of person? And also, Dave, I'm sure you do this to say, you're in charge. You hire me. I work for you.
Right.
And you hire me, you fire me, and everything I say to you is you're the authority on your life. You know, I can give you perspective, I can give you this and that, but you must, as you know from 12-step, you take what you want and you leave the rest. I said it to a client today. I'm not your guru.
Right.
I'm not your guru because, as you know, some of the codependents sort of take your word and say, "Wow, that's how it is." No, that's one way of looking at it. You've got to decide your life.
I always felt like the clients were the teacher, and I was always the student. And
wow.
So I was always in a one down. It felt easier for me, even though I was my space, but it was their work, and I'm going to help them with their work.
Very good.
And
their
so,
work.
Yeah, it's not my work. It's their work, and they're hiring. I mean, you don't have an electrician come to the house and tell you about his electricity.
Good point.
I like that.
I don't give a shit.
Right.
Exactly.
I don't give a shit about it.
So to me, it's like I always felt like you're the expert on yourself.
Yeah.
And I don't know shit about you,
all right.
And I'm going to try and figure out a way to learn about you. But when we're all done, you're still going to be the expert on you, and I'm still going to be the student. that will never change.
Right. Mark, I've used the term with you, midwifery, midwifery.
Yeah.
Being
Yeah.
your
Oh,
midwife.
yes.
I
Yes.
facilitate your growing process. It
Yeah.
ain't my pain. It ain't my life. And when you're done, you go on your way, and I'll still be here helping deliver new babies.
That's
you
right.
know,
Yeah.
That's
or
right.
new
Exactly.
psychological senses of self. And the person keeps their own power
Real good.
in that, I think. And how many great psychologists have said in the books is that most of the most important things I know about psychology are from my clients. So true. What you learn in a textbook, what you learn in grad school, it just doesn't hold a candle to what people in their integrity,
Right.
in their depth, in their
Yes.
beauty, in their suffering, knock you out of your chair.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Inspire us, don't they, Dave? They
Well, but
inspire us, inspire
it's
us.
gotta be so soul pleasing. You know, where you take a client that comes in and they're just a fucking basket case, and to work with them for a period of time, and then say, you see them coming along and recover. And and like with me, it's like there's days when I know our appointment's coming up, and I'm like, I'm looking forward to seeing Jerry. And after that last shit show I went through, I called Jerry and I said, and I hadn't seen you for what, 2 months?
Not quite that long.
You know,
A month
6
or so,
weeks. Yeah,
not regularly.
Right. And there was a period of time where I was there every week or every 2 weeks, and I was going along
Which
pretty
is how
good.
you do it. That's
Yeah.
if you need it, you come in.
Yeah.
If not,
So
you
I
don't
call
come in
him.
for the hell of it.
Or I shoot you a text, and I'm like, hey, man, what you got available next week? Oh, you need to come in? Oh, yeah. Yeah, we need to get to work on some EMDR shit because, it was after one of these shows, when we start talking about the statistics, and I'm like, I'm not dealing with my drama. I'm fucking burying it, and I'm putting it away, and I'm not dealing with it, and it's time to start healing it. And I probably got well over 1,000 traumas
Wow.
that I need to get fucking
Right.
working on.
Right.
And I'm finally in a position of strength and power
Yeah.
to where we can start doing it. And Jerry's like, okay, well, here, he gives me homework. I get my homework done. We go back in there, and you're like, all right, Mark, what do you want to do? Which one do you want to tackle this time? And we talk about it. And
What's up? What's up, Mark?
Yeah,
What people or situations are you reacting to most strongly? What
Yeah.
part of you is really getting stirred up?
Well,
Because
but
we need
one
to-
thing people may or may not know about me is I'm a bit of an empath, and we can't do the work until Jerry does his thing. So we got to sage the room. And did you talk about that you were studying to be in the priesthood? And he has this really.
I studied.
Is it okay we say that?
Sure, I studied to be a Roman Catholic priest from 1971 to 1976.
Yeah, they're very cool. So he has a very cool way of putting, to get
a spiritual atmosphere in the office, and I
Yes.
protect Mark from lost souls. So I
Yeah.
sage the room, and I pray in the
Yeah.
name of Jesus Christ that He is the light, He is the source of strength in this room, and all evil influence, all evil,
Yes.
whatever is not welcome here, and is to leave immediately.
But we can't do the work without that, because when I'm in that post-hypnotic state, seriously, I get fucking bombarded. And Jerry's like, what's going on? I said,
I
some
remember 2 different
motherfucker
times.
is wanting me to talk to his wife. I'm like, get out of here.
And they sort of come in on your face. They just
Yeah.
barge in on you.
It's
So
we-
again, the audience may find it hard to believe.
well, okay. Well,
I'm
we're
saying-
not
I'm saying
psychic
that's not
network
something you
here,
hear.
but right,
No.
but
But you.
But this
are
is shit that
You are
happens.
empathic.
Yes.
And these souls show
yeah.
up,
Yeah, I had a hell of a time.
and we tell them, go to the light. You're
Yes.
lost. You're between earth and heaven. You've died.
Yes.
It's time to go to the light.
Yeah, go to
Leave
the
us
light.
alone. Leave us alone.
But the thing about it, I never had that with you.
Right.
So I don't
Well,
know.
fine,
I don't-
Mark.
No,
Fine, Mark.
This is a good thing. Don't be upset.
Right.
But with our work was great. But what Jerry's done for me is the spiritual side and the spiritual healing and the spiritual growth. And what he's gotten me to do is to tune in. I was if you think of an AM radio and you're off the station, you can hear it, but it's staticky. What Jerry's done, Jerry's reached down and grabbed that knob and dialed me into 700 WLW.
Gotcha.
So it's a strong
50,000
clear, yeah,
watts.
50,000
No, and
watts.
again,
It's a
you
clear
said I haven't tuned in that,
signal.
Mark. I have set an atmosphere you have tuned in to the station.
I wasn't aware that it was there.
Right, but
you know.
you're the one who's
But
still tuned in.
Through a path of learning and learning how to administer my therapy, my EMDR, or hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapy has been pretty good, too. We've been doing that as well.
Yeah, I wanted a couple comments about that. One, David, is I like EMDR more for more discrete traumas. When specific things have happened at specific ages and the more memory they have of the incident, I prefer EMDR.
Okay.
But for complex trauma, which has taken place over a period of the entire childhood, over time, there's been a lot of different traumas.
Right.
Complex, and a lot of times this is repressed trauma.
Right.
Hypnotherapy, I think, is far superior to reaching that.
Cool.
And also, Marc has realized, I think, too, that there's an intimacy with hypnotherapy. It's more of a soul-based thing. Then EMDR is more neurological. It's bilateral stimulation, and your brain is reprocessing. It is reorganizing the closet.
Right.
It's very effective. And I'm not saying it's not effective for complex trauma, but
Right.
I prefer the hypnotherapy because we say, hey, we go back. What was the source of this? So then we take them back. So I just find that helpful.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, the hypnotherapy. The other thing I wanted to say is is in the field. I just can't say how much we've learned the last 25 years about trauma.
Tremendously.
Neurology, since I've been the last 25 years, it's what we've learned about the human brain, the neoplasticity of the brain. You have to change the brain. The brain is not set. It's always changed. So we've got that. But what we've learned about trauma is just fantastic. And people are no longer sentenced to a lifetime of, I got PTSD.
Yeah, and I can't do
PTSD
anything about it. I'm
the
going
point
to
I
drink
wanna
my
make is
fucking
it's
face
just
off.
like a mortgage, folks.
Yeah.
That's only my opinion.
Right.
Is a mortgage isn't forever, but it's real and it's heavy, and the banker's there every month. So once something has happened to you that you have not been able to process, you are traumatized.
Yeah.
But you were there. That energy is held in your body cells, it's held in your musculature, it's held in your fascia, and it will haunt you, as Marc has shared very intimately. It will haunt you, it will run you down until you turn and face it. And what Dave is talking about through the what's this? The safe place. Once your therapist has helped you build the resources, you can't keep running from the trauma through drinking, shopping, sexing, compulsivity, obsession, whatever it is. If we don't stop doing that, we will never turn and face the trauma. So like the mortgage. So again, it's something you pay off. It's something little by little by little.
Right.
You face that, and you, what do you call it? Disempower it. You let the
air out of it.
Let the air out of it.
Yes,
But anyway, the point I wanted to make was that it's like a mortgage, folks. Mortgages aren't forever. You're not traumatized forever. The experience is going to be memorable,
Right.
but the charge will be less and less and less.
Exactly. That payment will go down every month.
Yes, very good. The payment goes down.
But that's really
and the
true,
joy
though.
of life increases. The joy of life increases.
Yeah.
But until you do, it ain't going anywhere.
That's right. It just is.
Haunting is a good term. And the deep stuff is it possesses us. At least my trauma possessed me. And when I was overtaken by going back, as David said, into the past and the present, I became that person, and not pretty. Okay?
Right.
So then little by little, as David said, the payment gets less. These parts of us have less and less power to hijack our bus and drive us in the place that we don't want to go.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yes.
Exactly. Exactly.
What's next on the list there, David?
How much time we got?
Oh, we got as much time as we want. We're 38 minutes in, so we can go up to the top of the hour if you want to
Dude,
go.
I want to pick your brain.
Here we go.
Last Friday, one of our listeners contacted me and said, listening to your show, he had just listened to 6 and 7 back to back. He said, listening to your show, especially episode 7, triggered me. I had to relive some shit that I had thought I had put away for a long time, just listening to you two talk about trauma. So he said, you need to know this is fucking me up listening to your show.
Well, that's not good.
So
That's not the intent.
which is right, not the intent. Now,
You were doing him a favor,
yes, and
if with support.
and I think the thing that it really like just slapped me upside the head was like, of course this is happening. It's probably happened 100 other times and those people haven't called us. But this person said, you guys need to know you're fucking us up out here. So I'm thinking, everyone we have on, like you, I want to ask you, there's somebody out there, a woman who's been raped, a man who's lived through a fire, a woman who used to be an EMT.
And boys who've been raped and men
boys
who've been
raped.
abused.
Absolutely.
Boy, that's such an underserved thing. There's so many men out there who've been abused. Not just sexually either, but physically
All
abused.
different ways. Absolutely
Never
true.
often don't deal with it.
So
Right.
that person sitting there listening to this episode and they're being triggered, what would you say to them? This is something you can do right now as you listen, or right after the show is done. Here's something you can do with your being triggered. What would you say to that person?
You ask hard questions, Dave.
I've been told that.
It depends on how deeply triggered they are, how possessed they are. But the first thing I would say to them is, what can I do to help you get back into nervous regulation? You're dysregulated now. You are either in fight, flight, you're agitated, pissed off, ready to kill, ready to jump in your car and drive 100 miles an hour, or you're fucking shut down. You're free. You're in either fight, flight. That's your nervous system protecting you, or you're in freeze or shutdown. It's like it doesn't matter. Life is worthless. It's going through the motions. There's no point. There's no point in it, which can lead to that. So the first thing I would have them do, if they could, they may have no resources, is can I help you come down or get up into your green zone, into a state where you feel more normal, more connected. That's really hard to do if that's almost impossible for someone who hasn't had any training or anything. So that's one thing I would do. I'd try to help them realize, hey, this is the here and now. You just took a trip somewhere else. Can you come back to the present? Come back to the present, and we can deal with that later. But that's difficult to do.
Very much so. I like your earlier suggestion, though, in that very particular reference that you're making, that the person can ground themselves in that moment. They're sitting there on their couch. They've got a beer in their hand. They've just listened to something that's made them fucked up in their head. And what they could do is make sure they get back to the present.
Right, get back to the present.
Doing the grounding.
Which is what I meant getting.
Yes.
Either if you're in fight, flight, come back down. You're escalated. You're out. You're red alert, everybody to the battle station, so calm down, or you go into shutdown. So, yeah. And also, David, as you know, there are hundreds of grounding videos on YouTube. Just go to YouTube. Most of them are 10 to 20 minutes long. But as Dave and Mark were talking earlier, just do it and have fun. Do your 5 senses.
Yes.
Get out of your head, because as David is suggesting, you went back. You're there. You're back in the trauma. You fucked me up.
Yeah.
You have reminded me. You've taken me back. So by grounding, you come into the present. So what can you look at? What can you listen to? What can you taste? What can you feel?
Yeah.
To come back to now.
I love it.
To come back to now. And then, as you know, this can be healed. This trauma can be healed. I'm not fucked up after all. My psyche is so intelligent. My psychological immune system is so intelligent. When I was undergoing this accident or this setting, it saw that my circuit board was overloaded. And mercifully, it dissociated the experience. Mercifully. How did it know how to do that? How did it know that I could not process this without going either psychotic, well, I shouldn't say psychotic, either going autistic or going crazy? Your psyche, just like your physical immune system, your psyche is so loving and so intelligent. It said, Jerry can't handle this right now. It's going to put him over the edge. Not a problem. Click.
Yeah.
Dissociation, suppression, repression. and it's like it didn't even happen.
Oh,
Right.
let me tell you
But
something.
your body was there, and your body remembers. So, at any rate,
Right.
I know a lot
I hope
about that
that's
shit.
a long
Oh no,
answer
dude! I
to
think the
your-
grounding thing is
yeah.
a really good thing for any listener listening right now.
Yeah.
Can do
Immediately
this.
can immediately bring you back to the
Exactly.
present,
Exactly.
which is what's real.
Yes.
Because this other experience is over.
Right. Yeah. You can't do anything about it, but right now you can do something about how you feel.
And along with grounding, mindfulness practice is maybe misunderstood, but mindfulness is simply honoring the present moment. It's just go to the kitchen, get a glass of water, and just look at the water, feel its wetness, feel it going down your throat. Whatever I can do to remind myself that I'm right here and right now on Tuesday night, June 7th, 2022, will be relieving. Will help you relieve yourself. So be in the moment instead of back where it took you.
Right.
I think it's critical, and I love the cold water thing. I love that's great. Put some on your face.
Yes.
Remind yourself that you're in the moment, that you're in your kitchen, that you're just putting water on your face.
I'm safe.
Yeah,
I'm safe.
exactly. And then I'm thinking, okay, you get yourself back in the moment.
Ice pack on your back helps.
That's
too.
a great one. That's
An
a
ice
great
pack
one
on your
too.
back.
Very good. Once you're back in the moment and you're still upset, disrupted, consider calling someone. And if you know ahead of time, when I listen to this shit, it fucks me up. Well, then call somebody and say, will you come over and sit with me while I listen to the show that fucks me up? I know it's good for me to listen to it, but I need somebody here with me when I'm listening.
Wow.
So-
Great idea.
So you
Great
have
idea.
you-
And
yeah.
to discuss it with.
Yes, exactly. Afterwards, to deprocess. If you've got somebody else that may be a retired person, maybe somebody who used to be a policeman who's now doing blah, 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 would you mind coming over? And, it's only going to take 45 minutes, and I would really appreciate having somebody here. Or at least when it's over, I'm going to call you and go, I need to talk about this shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is what's
And-
on my mind.
And sometimes it's a brother, sometimes it's a dad, sometimes it's a neighbor, sometimes it's a best friend, whatever. But having that connection to somebody you can debrief with and just kind of like bleh it out, I think would be real helpful to those folks
Help
listening.
make sense of this. And if there's any term that I would use,
Good.
but again, when trauma strikes, it's very painful, it's very upsetting. But it's just to be curious, David, if you're listening to the show
Yeah.
and you're hearing about trauma and how it affects you and everything, just develop an attitude of curiosity. Look at a couple
Excellent.
YouTube videos or whatever, and then, as David is saying, talk with somebody about it. And the best thing to know is there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
It's what trauma should not be in the DSM-5. That's bullshit. Trauma is not mental illness. Trauma is the body's natural response
Yeah,
to
something.
experiences. Instead, you got mental illness. You got PTSD on the DSM-5. So, but technically, it's like the same thing in the medical field. If you have a virus, you're sick. If you have a virus or bacteria, they call you sick. But unfortunately, there's a stigma with mental illness. So,
No.
so folks know that
Trust
if
me,
you
I
have
know it.
PTSD, you are a very healthy person, and your system worked. It worked for you. It kept you from suffering an unbearable experience before you were ready to take care of it. And now, as David suggested, you're learning about it. You're sort of waking up to it. And heck, I can release this.
Yeah.
I'm not stuck with this forever.
Well, back to the whole PTSD thing. I avoided even telling anyone that I had PTSD. I considered it like back in the 80s and 90s, like saying, hey, I have HIV. Because in my world, it was so
And you're weak, too.
stigmatized.
You're weak.
Yeah,
You wouldn't have PTSD if you're weak. You
Yeah.
should have been able to handle that shit.
Yeah, exactly. And, I heard some of the rumors going around about, well, I thought, MTC could handle it. I thought he was hard. I thought he was old school. He was harder. And, I was kind of a Brahma bull when I was a cop. When I needed to be. But I was also a teddy bear when I needed to be as well. I thought I had pretty great depth. But
Range.
yeah, there we
Yes,
go.
Mark,
Yeah,
range.
exactly, good range. But now today, and Susan said the other day, well, sometimes I just think you use the PTSD as a crutch. And I said, no, I'm ill, and I have the documentation to prove that on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm a 10. I said, so no, I don't use it for a crutch, and I'm not using it to validate my bad behavior. I do the bad behavior
And you're accountable.
Because, and I'm accountable for it because I'm fucked up. I do the bad behavior, because I'm learning more and more about myself. But I wouldn't be here today had I not had to walk through that fire. And through you, both of you men, in my work with you and the willingness to get in and work is what's got me here today, doing a podcast about officer wellness. And our message is that we want you all to be able to experience or have that positive experience that I've had. That's my hope and dream and prayer for each and every one of you listening, is that you find good therapists like these two men have. And I'm very blessed to have you both in my life. And to be able to come on this show and be able to share this experience with the world, because, everyone has their own story. Everyone, and I kind of feel like a pussy with some of my trauma because I don't think it's as bad. And I'm not looking to say, well, you only did this. Well, look what I did. Well, great. I'm glad you're alive to talk about it.
Never compare traumas.
Well, right. And that's not
It's
what
like
I'm doing.
comparing bodies, comparing looks.
Thank you.
Well, exactly.
Yeah,
but
never.
sometimes I feel that way. But my trauma is still just as very real, and it's just as raw. And working through the healing steps, and I think that was put so wonderful today that, and I never thought of it that way, is that, little by little you're going to pay it off, little by little. And as soon as you were telling me that, and I started thinking about my incident in 2017, January 18, 2018, where I got my crew killed, how raw that was. And how, you remember me coming in there those days, Jerry's, and I was just...
Basket case.
Yeah, I was an absolute
and
fucking
second guessing
basket.
But again, there was
my
so much
God.
going on there. You were second guessing yourself.
Oh my God, it was fucking horrible. But as I sit here today, we can talk
You've
about
healed
it.
a lot.
And I'm
Yeah.
not weeping, and I'm not, I don't have that anxiety, and but it's been a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of work, and that's where you guys
And
need
it
to
continues.
listen.
And it
Oh yeah,
continues.
absolutely it does. We have an appointment next week,
Yep.
and we sure do.
Let me
What
just.
else? What else you want to do? We
just
got
one-
9 minutes. If you
Okay.
want to.
Oh,
This will
9
put
minutes?
This will put us
Well,
at
hey,
an
I can
hour.
talk real slow.
We can end at any time, but we're at 51 minutes right now.
Well, I thought it was really cool the same evening that gentleman called me and said, dude, you're fucking me up. That evening, a woman fed back to me that listening to episode 6 was really validating for her. That going through her trauma and getting herself through that trauma, and then listening to Marc and I talk about what Marc's been through in episode 6, it was like, God, I felt so good. At the end of that episode, I felt so validated. I felt happy. I felt strong. And I think we're doing that too. We're hopefully touching people in a lot of different ways. Those folks who are being triggered, yeah, we need to give you some tools. But those of you who've been
And
through some
resource, yeah.
shit, let us know that too. Let us know that what we're doing is touching you and resonating for you in a positive way. Takes you back to your own growth and your own resolution. How did you get through that shit? If we touch on something that makes you remember that, that's what makes you feel stronger. It's not just the trauma that becomes part of your brain and experiences. It's how you got through the trauma that stays with you probably just as much, if not more, than the trauma itself.
Yes. And on your website, I assume you have resources that people can go to as far as treatment. If not, that's something like the people who are listening and this is stirring them up. And it's not, in my opinion, it's nothing of it's re-triggering them. It's reminding them of things. Is they can go to the website for resources in terms of who to contact, from suicide prevention lines to therapists and so on.
The biggest thing I can say, we don't have a list of people currently on the website because I'm not that good of a fucking webmaster. What I would suggest to you is to reach out to David through the coaching button. Just hit it there, and he'll be able to direct you wherever you need to be.
Important. I think it's really important, Marc, for the people that are triggered by this.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And you heard tonight that trauma works. It's good news. It's not a permanent condition.
Right.
Your system worked, okay? In your house, when you have on the microwave and the hair dryer and everything at once, it blows a circuit. And it pisses you off because you're late to work already, and now the toaster doesn't work. But it kept your house from burning down. So trauma
Good analogy.
is an experience that just blows you away, and if you didn't if you had to go through it, it would mess you up. So trauma is a good thing in the sense that it protects your integrity of yourself. And later, it postpones. Remember, post-traumatic stress, it postpones you processing the experience when you have more resources, more strength, more awareness. And always remember, you survived the experience. It's over. You survived it. The only thing that didn't happen is since your psyche dissociated you, you just didn't process it. That's all.
Right.
It's over. It's done.
Yeah.
It's done, right? Isn't that good news?
And at the end,
as opposed to feeling like, oh, I'm messed up, I'm traumatized.
Right.
Nope, your brain is working fine, just like your electrical system's working. When a 20 amp circuit gets overloaded, it shuts off. So trauma shuts you off temporarily, stores it, and then as David and I are saying, you go back, and Marc has shared how he's gone back to clear it out.
Yep.
Blow it out.
Put it where
so
it
anyway,
belongs.
it's easier said than done.
Takes
I don't mean to make it sound easy, but I want you to know that you're not sick. There's nothing wrong with you.
Right. Very good, Jerry.
This is manageable.
Yeah. The fact you're in trauma is proof that everything in your body worked.
Yes.
Now let's take care of the scar that's left from that
Yeah.
experience. And
Still a plastic surgery and get
yeah,
rid of that
exactly.
thing.
Exactly.
Yep. And it'll be finished.
Yeah, then we're done. And then you can come back because you're going to still be, if you're still going to be a policeman, you're going to be in my office again.
Or just reach out and get those every 90-day
Exactly.
Maintenance checks.
Yeah. Get those appointments made, guys. Just guys and gals. Fire EMS. Sometimes hopefully your department has led you or has a good therapist on staff. But if not, then reach out, do some work. It's better to find and locate those resources it's better to need them and not have them.
Right. Just
Or
along
saying,
those lines,
have them and not need them, than need them and not have them. Sorry,
Right.
Jerry, go ahead.
is every good company, every good system takes care of their workers. So I know there's a major hospital system in the Miami Valley that retains psychologists and counselors like me, where their physicians and caretakers have access, and and also Marc, what reminded me is the maintenance is you can go in and they will have a meeting with 15 of these doctors or caretakers to talk about different mental health issues.
Yeah, exactly.
Prevention, take care of your people. Don't wait till they're broken down.
Right.
If they're having symptoms, pay attention, but you got to bring that to bear, and that's what you're saying. And it would be nice if the police departments would continue the good work that they're doing or start doing more work as far as taking care of their people.
They're getting there. The good news is that 50% of all the departments out there are led by strong leadership. The bad news is that the other 50% is led by toxic leadership, and it's those poor people that are in that mess. And the bad thing about it, in my world, in my experience, once you're down, by golly, everybody, let's take a kick at you.
Yeah.
Instead of, helping the old lion through their bad state, they're like a bunch of hyenas. They all want to come up and take a nip at you.
You're vulnerable.
Yeah.
Vulnerable, yeah.
Yeah, they all pile on.
Exactly.
Ready to read us out?
All right, bro. I just want to say thank you for
Oh,
being
yeah,
here.
Jerry, we need to have
You're
you back
awesome
on.
to meet you. Awesome to
Yes.
spend some time
Finally,
with you.
David
Absolutely,
Buchanan, I've
yes.
known or heard about for so many years from so many people, and I've met him in the flesh.
Yes, I appreciate
good,
that
yes.
very much. It's
Yes.
been good to be with you, sir.
Yes, thank you. Likewise.
May your days and nights find you strong and safe. May you take your place as your family's face. As you do the shit that we won't do, as you embrace the risk you must go through, may you grow in strength and heal and find your heart, your soul, and your mind. You look at your life and grin. You have a home, a shield within.